Adele Wang here today, and I am so excited to interview and introduce you to our last conductor as part of the DeKalb Symphony Orchestra conductor search, John Clanton. Welcome.
Hello, Adele. Good to be here.
We have a concert coming up June 21st. Put this on your calendar. It's going to be awesome. And I'm very excited to speak with John today so he can tell you a little bit about this amazing program. And John has an amazing resume. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a principal second violin, and I'm going to read a little bit of John's impressive bio. So John, you have done a lot of amazing things. I mean, you have the formal classical training. You got your conductor's master's at Eastman. You have an orchestral background playing with some of the top orchestras in the world, Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center. You've done opera with some of the top companies. You've done pops. You've done wind ensemble. You've done chorales, and you're a lieutenant colonel.
Yes, I am. I'm retired from that now.
Okay.
But I had several jobs that I did, but one of them was I was the deputy commander of the United States Army Band in DC, and then I conducted the Army Orchestra and the Army Chorus. So,
that's freaking amazing. You have conducted for 6 presidents, 23 heads of states, Queen Elizabeth. You've been part of inaugurations for Bill Clinton and George W. Bush. You have a lot of Washington, D.C. high dignitary things of people around the world. You've done orchestral things with some top artists, including Yo-Yo Ma, Itzhak Perlman, Anne-Marie Mutter, a lot of other fabulous people. You've done also pops things for theater. You're a keyboard player, very broad experience in different kinds of music as a performer, a conductor. You've a leadership role in the Army, and that's pretty fabulous. You have selected a really awesome program. We're playing the George Gershwin Piano Concerto in F. We have a guest soloist. I'll let you tell us a little bit about Mr. Holt. We're playing the Dvorak Symphony No. 8. I mean, oh my God, everybody is just ecstatic playing that one. And one of my favorite pieces, the Aaron Copland Appalachian Spring. So this is a Americana. If you don't know this piece, I'm sure you've heard it. It's used all over on TV commercials. I'm
setting up a concert that that I'm up for a job for, and so I do the things that I know the best. But I also do it because you never know when it's your last one. And these are things I love to do. All of these speak to me in different ways. I mean, the Copland, I've just always had a love for Copland. And I mean, they talk about his sound represents America. And for me, he just created that sound. And while I enjoy the exciting parts of it, the parts of this piece that just get to me are the beginning and the end, when it's just those absolutely beautiful. Oh, I've got chills thinking about it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Those just, beautiful, simple sounds.
When the players love a piece, it shows. And when there's a piece that everybody's excited about, it raises the level, it raises the energy, the enthusiasm, and then we have a conductor who loves it. Would you say that of the 3, the Appalachian is probably the most complex from a conducting standpoint?
I think in general, yes, although of course the Gershwin is by far more complex to conduct because we have to, line up with a soloist. We have to be able to, catch the pianist at the end of a run and come back in at a different tempo. And overall, those are the biggest challenges. The Copland, though, it's a difficult challenge when so many conducting auditions, they have Appalachian Spring on there, because everybody knows that middle chunk that has all of that crazy meter, if you can get through that, then you can get through anything. Joe was at the United States Army Band. He retired as a sergeant major, which is the highest rank that an enlisted man can have. But Joe, I can't say enough about Joe. His musicianship is just amazing. He's a pleasure to work with. I think that both musically and personally, everyone's really going to enjoy the experience with him. And when this opportunity came up, there was just no doubt the first person I would call to see if he could play. And Joe just, absolutely. Over the years, I've had people ask, why music in the military? I mean, it's a war fighting organization. Why do we have music? And the interesting answer is yes, because it's a war fighting institution, because as soldiers go to war, the bands go with them. And there are so many stories, especially when you go back into World War II and back into that period, where they'll go to a place where the hostilities have died down a little bit, and the band can come in and play some kind of performance for them, whatever they can do. And I mean, you hear story after story about people who just say, you know, for those 30 minutes or for that 1 hour, I was able to just forget I was in a war, and I could just put it all away. I get kind of choked up with it. I just put it all away and just enjoyed being out of it. And then once it was over, we were back. But I mean, that when you think that through, that's, you know, your mindset, you're in a war, you're every day is a danger and question. Then all of a sudden you just get to, for a few minutes, and enjoy this music. And it's pretty powerful stuff. And so that's why we exist in the military, for that very reason. So music is a powerful thing. Yes.
How powerful that in times of war, music might just heal a bit.
Well, that's exactly right. And these military bands, most people, if they've heard a local military band, they've heard like the marching at a ceremony or something. And yes, that's something that they do. But what you don't know is they also break down into smaller groups. And so you'll have a combo that focuses on just like popular music of the day. And they'll go out and play for soldiers, play something that the soldiers listen to every day and understand. And they're shocked that we do that, but it's all part of the music, you know, and it's the whole focus is on what to do to support the fighting men and women. And that's where it comes from. And so the DC job that we talked about is a little bit different. It's a little more unique, that we're a little more focused on, you know, the dignitaries in Washington, DC, and telling the story of the fighters to those people, and to remind them that we're here and that it's important. And so, yeah, it's powerful, and it's in the military.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does an orchestra work in the Army?
Well, they're all unique. The Army only has one orchestra, and it's in Washington, D.C. Primarily, it's used as a strolling string section to go play for dinners of dignitaries in Washington. That's what a lot of it is. And then every now and then we're able to add wind players from the Army band and put an orchestra together and do concerts just as a chamber orchestra. So it's a unique job. But the Army strings, because so much of their work is done for dignitaries in DC, the Army orchestra seldom gets out of Washington. We would do an annual concert for a while at Trinity Church in New York, and occasionally at Lincoln Center. But yeah, that group stayed in town a lot. The Army Chorus, which I conducted, similar job, a lot of work in DC, but yet we also were brought around the country to different things. We had the good fortune of being the favorites of the Ford family, President Ford, and the Bush family. And so even after they left office, especially President Ford, he would bring us out to different events that he was having just so we could sing for his event. And that's pretty unique stuff. It's you only get that in Washington, that's for sure.
Yes, I'm sure that's a very unique musical leadership role.
Yeah.
Heads of state playing for you. You also were part of some pretty high-ranking funerals.
Yeah, I did. I conducted most of the music for the National Cathedral Memorial Services for the state funerals for Presidents Reagan and President Ford, which that's pretty heady stuff. I mean, in those jobs in DC, we talk about how we're actually a part of history when it's happening. And when you're in the middle of events like that, you realize that you really are a part of the history that's being made. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. The military has different groups who do different things. Just up the road from the Army Band in Washington is a group called the Army Field Band, which has a chorus also, which I was the deputy commander there for a while too, and conducted their chorus. That group's primary function is to tour. And so they spend 100, 120 days a year on the road, traveling all around the country. And it's kind of interesting. The band was formed in World War II to go around the country and sell war bonds and to connect with the people in the small towns. And that's what they still do.
When you were in the military, was there ever a sense that music could be a healing or a helpful force in the world to help in the middle of all this craziness? Did that ever cross your sense of philosophy in what you were doing?
Well, it absolutely did. And actually, it, in very real ways, changed what was going on in rooms sometimes, because there's more than one occasion where whenever president or the chief of staff of the army or somebody like that was hosting their counterpart from another country, we would come in and sing for the dinner, and we would always sing a number in their language. And so some of those got, they're not your basic languages, but we had the luxury of the embassies in town. So we'd go to the embassies, make sure the music was appropriate, learn how to pronounce it correctly, and then we'd sing it. And there's been more than one occasion where we were told that before we started singing that the relationship in that room had been pretty cold at the time. It was not going well. And then we went in there and sang something in their language, which just meant the world to them. And they said after we walked out, it all changed. They just were now kind of relaxed and they talked. And so it's a very specific, it does make a difference. And things like that make you very aware that it makes a difference. Music's a powerful thing. Music can change your emotions and your feelings and the mood and everything else. And in this case, in some very real ways. So
love that. That's kind of my fantasy, that what we do in our little way in the Decaf Symphony can help the world in some way. It's certainly healing for the musicians to be expressing and to share it with the audience. So many of these experiences, you just, in the middle of them, you're doing them and watching yourself doing them, because the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, I grew up in a family. My dad was a preacher and we were all in the church, and I grew up listening to Mormon Tabernacle Choir albums my whole life. And so the first time I got up and stood in front of that group to do the rehearsal, it was awesome and overwhelming and all of that. And actually my dad was able to fly out and be there for that, which was even more special. But those are the kind of things you're aware of the moment when you're there and enjoying it. So I like this program because it's very well, you get nice flavors. The Gershwin has much more of a quasi jazz feeling, which is always fun. And Dvorak is so beautiful. And then we have a dash of freshness. Yes. And all of them have a feeling of hope and uplifting about the music and joy, and that which is really nice in a time like this. I've always thought of music as being more entertainment and emotional. For me, it's about giving people a chance to come into a room and for 2 hours just to be able to shut out everything else that's going on and just enjoy and leave feeling better and uplifted, and then step off and start again. Because personally, for me, that's what it is. I've always considered the podium my happy place. And so no matter what's going on, once I step on the podium, it all goes away. And this is just what I focus on, and I love it. And then you step off of it and you have to face the world again. But for that period of time, we should be able to touch people, and leave the stage feeling like we made a difference and we left some great music out there. I've always felt like if you have an option of really going for it and maybe making a mistake here and two, or playing it safe, but making more right notes, my encouragement is go for it every time, because that's where the music comes, is in those little places where you're a little not quite sure, but you go for it anyway. And that's, And I love those moments on the stage when you finish a piece and everybody kind of looks around and we know we just nailed that. We know we just did something special, and that's what I strive for. Absolutely. So everybody come out and enjoy this awesome program. Please. And I understand, John, you'll probably be doing a pre-concert lecture. This is your opportunity to meet John personally, ask questions about the piece, get to know John a little bit better. And then we start the concert at 8. So I really encourage everyone to take advantage of the pre-concert series. I feel like it gives a little bit more intimacy, an opportunity that you wouldn't have in a lot of other performances where, it's like you're in the peanut gallery back there somewhere. Come on in and meet people. And so everybody put it on your calendar. June 21st, pre-concert series starts at 7, where you get to talk to John. And we start. Bill will be there also.
Joe Holt's going to be there also.
Fantastic. And everybody, we hope to see you on June 21st.
Come on. Bye-bye. See you then.